Okay, folks, how you doing? Well, this is the third company that we're going through. Each segment that I've done, each video that I've done is going to be just a different company, and in as evidence of the practices of DEI, not DEI on a soft standpoint, like the way corporations push it, but the evidence that behind the scenes, it truly is just a racist dogma and ideology. And so this is the third one, the third video. I've made one on Google and Walmart and their internal documents that were leaked about how they're pushing DEI, but it's actually quite racist. And you can watch those if you want to see the actual evidence. Christopher Rufo has provided this with the help of many whistleblowers and insiders. So let's go ahead and take a look at Verizon. That's our new subject for the day. And Verizon, the scoop is, according to Chris, is that Verizon teaches employees that capitalism is fundamentally racist, that weaponized white privilege is a danger to African Americans, and that employees should support defunding the police. I've obtained whistleblower documents that will shock you. Also, know this, I believe in the free market, but when somebody who is very, very, very rich tells everybody how evil capitalism is, just know they're trying to get you out of the fray. They do not want competition. And so they will in turn denounce, they've benefited from capitalism, but they in turn know that the best way to keep people out of the system and disenchanted with the system is to deprecate capitalism by discounting it, by saying it's fundamentally racist, it's wrong, it's blah, 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 and all these things. The thing is, too, is that what these companies preach, too, you got to understand, they're not teaching, they actually don't practice capitalism. And I think young people especially, they've been taught in college, capitalism is the worst. Now, capitalism is it's not perfect, but it's the best system that we have where you can get to greater wealth, okay? And that doesn't mean wealth, when I say wealth, like being some rich dude on a hill, but to doing better in life. Capitalism allows that. The free market allows that. What these companies preach, they don't practice. They practice monopolism. Monopolism is not capitalism. Monopolism is when the government comes along and helps you and creates loopholes for you because you can afford to have enough lobbyists in Washington, D.C. to create laws that benefit your company and your company only. So they create loopholes for large corporations like this. These same loopholes do not exist for a small business, okay? So that they can get past certain regulations, they don't have to pay for certain permitting, and they also get subsidized by the government. This is not true capitalism. This is not the free market. And so that's just a distinction I was going to make there. So let's take a look at their program here, the participant guide at Verizon. Last year, Verizon launched a race, let's highlight this, a race and social justice initiative, created an extensive race re-education program based on the core tenets of critical race theory, okay, which is essentially poison, including systemic racism, white privilege, and intersectionality. And here is just some of the things that they have on their site for internally for their employees: race and social justice action toolkit. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So he says here, to begin with, Verizon diversity trainers instruct employees to deconstruct their intersectional identities, listing their race, ethnicity, gender identity, religion, education, profession, and sexual orientation, then determining their position on the privilege hierarchy. My question here is, do you have to be involved in this if you work for a company? I've never in my life, up to this point, I've never seen companies that ask these questions. I thought this was illegal to ask this type of stuff. And my thing is, could you opt out of these things? That I don't know. Um, but it seems pretty grotesque that they're actually asking very personal questions about ethnicity, gender identity, religion, education, profession, and sexual orientation. This is a company you work for that provides cell phone service. Why am I providing you with my sexual orientation, religion, why am I providing you with that? It seems this just appears to break a whole slew of privacy laws. So this is a part of their pre-work instruction. Where did I grow up? What was the culture of my community? What did I learn about right and wrong, good, bad growing up? Remember, this is a cell phone company. What is my cultural identity? Gender, religion, sexual orientation? How do I feel about those different who are different about those different than myself? Let's see, and of course it continues defining terms like institutional racism, racism that operates through the policies, procedures, or practices of the institutions of our society. So systemic racism. Okay, micro inequity. Microaggression is an act that stereotypes or denigrates the recipient via indirect expressions of racism, sexism, ageism, ableism, or another form of prejudice. They can be in seemingly innocuous comments from people who might be well-intentioned. However, they make the person to whom they were directed feel different, violated, or unsafe. Micro-inequity, okay, this is new for me. Generally speaking, a micro-inequity is a slight that marginalizes the recipient by singling them out, overlooking them, or ignoring them. It can be conscious or subtle. And allyship, remember, I've said that in my previous videos, be very aware of these words, because if, since the Supreme Court has dissed on affirmative action at colleges, they're trying to rename these things. This is what left-wingers do. They just simply give it a new name to put a new cloak on it until that cloak is revealed. It is revealed what's underneath there, and then they change it to another term. Same definition, just a different term. So they may eventually get to a point one day where they get rid of this term DEI, but they're going to call it something else. And allyship is one of these things that they also use a cloak to cover up that it's just racism. Allyship, a lifelong process of building relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized individuals and or groups of people. Okay, so you get the point. Let's see, and so he says, Verizon then instructs employees on the firm's elaborate racial etiquette system, warning them against committing microaggressions and microinequities. Members of the privileged classes must engage in the lifelong process and accountability with marginalized individuals. I like how a cell phone company is telling me that I must engage in this lifelong process. Like they have some spiritual hold on my life. Like they have this much control over my life outside of work. Screw you. That's what I say. And this is how much power they think they can wield. And anyway, so microaggressions, we looked at that, and microinequity and allyship. I just read about that one too. So let's see here. In a video, former DEI director Ramses Jean-Louis, good Lord, claims that weaponized white privilege is a grave danger to African Americans, nearly crying. He says that blacks are often not being viewed as humans and not being viewed as whole people with souls. I don't know, it's kind of weird though, because your house seems super nice. I don't know. You don't seem to be much of a victim of these micro inequities and stuff. But of course, you know, for the DEI directors to notice this, they're never going to hire somebody who's white, right? And most likely, probably very few Asians as well, because this is the next target too. Make no mistake. And so let's continue. So fortunately, Christian was physically, what is he talking about here? Okay, sorry. Let's see. What is this talking about? Yeah, okay, so not being viewed as humans and not being viewed as whole people with souls. Fortunately, Christian was physically unharmed, but his experience went viral and prompted many discussions surrounding the danger that weaponized white privilege can have, as well as the need to address it. If we are not being viewed as humans, not being viewed as whole people with souls. Okay, but you got to remember too, this is based on Marxism, so the whole soul concept of the soul, that contradicts, there's so many contradictions in this, that contradicts the entire premise of DEI, which is based on Marxism, which is based on atheism as well. Marx absolutely hated any concept of spirituality, soul, religion, anything like that. And so that's why DEI is just so malleable. It's so subjective, which you can call that the lived experience too. That's fine if you have a lived experience, but it may not be. It doesn't matter. It still may not be in accord with reality. Okay, so you can call it lived experience all you want, but still, you got to take out the trash, or the trash is going to pile up in the kitchen. You can say, well, my lived experience is that the kitchen is clean. Okay, but one day the trash is going to show up at your bedside, and you're going to be like, oh no, but my lived experience, well, you still have to take out the trash. So as part of the company's anti-racism education series, Verizon VP David Hubbard interviewed Khalil Muhammad, great-grandson of the former Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad, who denounced America and capitalism of systems of racism. And remember, this is also being utilized, I believe, by these companies. When they denounce capitalism, these guys are the essence of greed, like Verizon. This is a company who has capitalized on greed, and they practice monopolism. Okay, and so they're going to denounce things like capitalism because that's how they got there in the first place. But they don't want other people involved. They don't want competitors. So they're going to turn right around. That's their little reverse psychology, and tell everybody, make sure all their employees know, oh, this is capitalism. Capitalism is bad. Yet at the same time, I'm going, yeah, but your company was built based on capitalism. So what are you saying? But this is to keep competition away, keep you from being motivated to go, well, I'm going to start my own company as well. So he says, Muhammad, whatever, those are tragic. What we have here is a system of racism that was built intentionally a long, blah, blah, blah. So these are screenshots. So of course, not complete sentences, but these are screenshots from insiders who were at these meetings, okay, who watched these. Muhammad argued that the founding fathers built a slave economy and that this early version of global capitalism produced the economic incentives that prevailed to this day, with corporations exploiting poor people in low-income communities like modern-day slave owners. Excuse me. And it said, so he says here, there's no founding American wealth without the experience of enslaved Africans as the wealth generators for this nation, which they aren't because they're 14% of the nation. And I will say this right now, I don't believe this. And this isn't just Marxist talking points. The founding fathers had flaws that they had. The 10 out of 12 of them were in fact slaveholders, and they had a very difficult time extracting themselves from the economic incentives that this early version of global capitalism produced for them. If we told that story, then we'd have an easier way of understanding why business people today have a hard time changing business practices, even when they know that they are exploiting poor people in a low-income community. So what do you want, though? What do you want? Say I work down at the gas station and I have a paycheck. Do you want part of my paycheck? Do you want these reparations that you claim to all the time? Do you want me to give you part of my check? Because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And this is what the point I'm trying to make is. This is all grift for power and money. Okay, free money and power. So grievance politics makes a ton of money. And these struggle sessions, this is all meant to squeeze out free money from people by sitting in a chair in a nice home, like these people right here, sitting in a chair in a nice home, where you have everything you could possibly need and more, all the comforts of the first world, and still sitting here and complaining, and that you need something to grift on. Okay, so Christopher Rufo says, next, Muhammad claimed that the police force is designed to maintain America's two-tier society, make sure that kids are locked up, make sure that people stay in their communities, and make sure that they're criminalizing poverty, the bread and butter of systemic racism. Now, do I believe in this? Yes, I do actually agree on some of these points. Systemic racism, but look at where it's happened at the most. It's happened the most in where? Democrat cities. Look at Baltimore. In the last 100 years, has Baltimore gotten better? No. And is there systemic racism? Yes, I believe so. And are there seedy? I believe there's good cops, but I believe there's seedy cops. I also believe that these same Democrats, their system, look at all the blue cities. Still, those black areas of town, those black communities are still dirt poor ghettos. Okay? If you establish systems like welfare, you establish a system of where a mom doesn't need to be married. It's more beneficial that she doesn't have a husband, but she has 6 or 7 kids, and then she can be married to the government. The state wins. Okay? And since welfare was established, have these in the 60s, I think, have these communities become better? Have they improved? No, they have not. I believe welfare is a system of discrimination. And it has been, the big experiment was really on black communities first. That's where the government seems to go to first to do their experiments. And remember the experiments that they did with syphilis too on black communities and white poor Appalachians back in the 50s and also in the 30s as well. They did this. So they tried these experiments on the poor, the people who pretty much the outcasts of society, and where they don't have much power or leverage. And so, yes, I do believe this. But the government has been directly responsible, and I believe people like this, Verizon, I believe people bringing someone in like Muhammad, he has benefited from this. He's benefited off of exploiting black communities, okay? So he's involved in this grift to make money and to leverage his power as well. This grandchild of Elijah Muhammad, the Brotherhood of Islam. Okay, so let's go back here. And finally, Verizon hosted activist. It's dangerous when you get the activists in. Hosted activist Adrian Burrell, who openly advocated for defunding police departments and moving money to the community. As Burrell explained, if you want to call that abolishing the police, or if you want to call that defunding the police, so be it. So here it is. Yeah, here's his statement right there. Now, here's the thing. But see, when these activists started calling for the defunding of the police, it essentially gutted the black communities even more. It made it worse. And what they didn't show you on the news, the mainstream media, was people in the communities going, we are black. We want the police back, because now it's even worse than it was. It was already bad, but now that you've defunded the police, we have nobody who comes here ever at all. And now it's the full resolution of gutting is complete. The gutting of the black ghetto community is complete at that point by calling for the defunding of the police. Let's see. Christopher Rufo says, and then Verizon's corporate slogan is built right. If Verizon executives want to live up to it, they should scrap their anti-racism program. P.S. Okay. So people will stand here, LMAO, we live in a parody. It's a dark comedy. Let's see. And somebody said, it's like a hooker preaching about how bad sex is. And that shit makes no sense. Will someone in Hollywood have the balls to make a comedy movie series about this woke culture? Why are successful capitalistic enterprises ashamed of being what they are? Verizon employs thousands of employees, provides cutting-edge technology, and offers an affordable service for which its customers willingly pay every month. Be proud of that. Okay. Well, they built themselves up based on capitalism, but they're going to turn right around and diss on it too. They're trying to avoid you taking part of this system. Okay, I'm fine with canceling my Verizon service. However, before I do, I'd like to know if any other internet cable providers made Rufo's list. I'd hate to move over to say AT&T only to find they also are on the list. Yes, AT&T is on this list. Sorry to say. Um, let's see. Some people disagree. Wow, way to go, Verizon. Nice to see companies acting in a socially responsible fashion. Show me the docs. I will leave Verizon customer for over 30 years. Hi, I'd like my free socialist mobile service, please. Unlimited data cap, por favor. Oh, that is too funny. Yeah, I'm like, okay, so if you're dissing on capitalism and you're pushing socialist principles, then please go ahead and just give me a free mobile service then. Because isn't that what it's all about? Making everybody equal. That would be an equitable outcome, correct? So, this is funny. So this Hispanic will be asking for a refund and free service. I think all minorities should ask for free service. Let's see if they mean it. You know what? I think that's pretty darn funny. I want to see that. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to do something like this? If it came and say this won't happen, but if it did, would they go, okay, we're going to determine what customers of ours are white and what customers are BIPOC or people of color, and then we're going to go ahead and charge white people more so that we can fund the free services for Hispanics or blacks or whatever. But I just think that's so funny. That's a great ironic statement. I like that. This is another publicly traded company whose stocks we should sell or short because this toxic mindset can only lead to losses and bankruptcy. The responsible thing for them to do is sell or liquidate and return equity to shareholders and close up shop. Yeah, the thing about this Marxist thing is there's these grievance sessions about race and ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, and especially when it comes to race and skin color. Yet the thing is they're all basing their admiration off of Karl Marx, a German white philosopher who had a loathing for black people, and he put black people into his what he called the lumpen proletariat. Okay, not just the proletariat, the common people, the lumpen proletariat. These were a class of people that he considered the lowest of the low, the useless of society, the beggars, the leechers, stuff like that. So if anybody's bourgeois, Marx is, and Marx said he hated the bourgeois, but he showed his bourgeois colors, socialist bourgeois colors, by saying that exact statement, by putting blacks and people of color into not the proletariat, the common people, but the lowest of the common people, which is the lumpen proletariat. Just a little tidbit about Marx there. So it always blows my mind when I see Patrice Couleurs and these kind of more well-known black people supporting Marxism. And she said that outright, that she supported Marxist philosophy outright. But the thing is, that doesn't matter. That's just an inconvenient truth. What they're really, the reason Marxism has such an attraction for these people is because it is an easy, it's truly one of the biggest scams in the entire world. And so they're kind of honing into this scam because this scam comes underneath, it comes under, it wears this cloak. Okay, it wears this wolf in sheep's clothing, which is that we should all be equal. It has some nice platitudes. We should all be equal. We should get rid of the rich. Okay, we should get rid of the landowners as the property owners and free ourselves of private property. Yet the first thing Patrice Couleurs does is buys 4 private properties, 3 in the United States and 1 in Canada, and has a fenced-in properties with a white security guard too. Candace Owens did this. She went up to her house, I think in Atlanta, and there was a white security guard there who told her that Patrice couldn't come to the door. So anyway, that's Verizon. So just food for thought, folks. And if you have any comments or any thing to say about that, and in addition, that's much appreciated. Even people who may disagree a little bit, I'm still like, yeah, but one thing I think we can come to agreement in is if you're going to adopt socialist philosophy, then the CEOs and the executives need to give up their jobs, okay? As the bourgeois, they need to give up their jobs. And they also need to make all their services free for people of color and stuff like that, right? When's that going to happen? That's not going to happen. So they're feigning that they're adopting a socialist type of philosophy, but they're not. This is a monopolist philosophy. So anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I'll talk to you later.